Reality has been invaded by another world. Now is an era of class changes, where the class you awaken defines your future, and being weak is the original sin. Our story begins on a sunny day, showing from above a large structure, the Academy of Extraordinary Skills. Amidst a crowd of people, we focus on a young man laughing and mocking while playing on his phone. This is the protagonist of our story, Ning Feng, smiling as he celebrates his advantage over opponents, only to receive a slap on his cheek from a blonde-haired woman with amber eyes. This is Wang Yu, who scolds our protagonist for playing instead of preparing for the awakening exam that is approaching. Jokingly, he talks about balancing work and play, mentioning that since he's already 18, he'll probably only receive a common 2-star class. Then he comments on Wang having awakened a 5-star class at 16, teasing that he might as well just cling to her for support. She pulls him close, telling him he can rely on her. As she hugs him tightly, Ning Feng reminds her that the exam is about to start, while people around them discuss Wang's achievements, wondering how long the county had been waiting for a genius like her. She's amazing, they say, while simultaneously debating Ning's reputation as the infamous trash of the school. Nearly 18 years old, and he still hasn't awakened. They start mocking him while praising their goddess, questioning how a worthless orphan like him deserves to be her childhood friend. Wang then drags Ning to the testing area. The world is explained to us. Blue Star, a world where games have merged with reality. In this world, once you turn 16, you have a chance to unlock extraordinary abilities and become one of the famous adventurers. A voice then echoes for the second-year students, announcing that it will explain the exam rules where anyone can awaken. The voice is drowned out by Ning's thoughts, questioning if Wang really has to be so serious. After all, this is his third time taking the exam. The voice that echoed earlier becomes clear again, instructing students whose names are called to go to the testing area, where, upon awakening, they can collect a basic set for their class and proceed to the practical test. Some people around our protagonist discuss the classes they hope to awaken, like mage, melee, agile fighters, or the highly sought-after support classes. After a few students are called, Ning finally hears his name. He responds, affirming his presence, and walks forward, while others ridicule him, calling him useless. We see him approach a beautiful woman with purple hair, Professor KY. He calls her name as she informs him that they'll begin once he's ready. Placing his hand on a massive crystal, she instructs him to relax his mind. The crystal begins to emit a bright light, and after a moment of silence, everyone looks on astonished as the confirmation of the class awakening is announced. In her thoughts, Professor Kai explains that the blue light signifies a magical system. Upon awakening, it's expected that initial abilities are unlocked. Everyone is eager to see how many stars his class will have, while some laugh at him for being a magical class. Then it's revealed that he has awakened a 1-star class, and his skill is the magic slime. Professor Key appears disappointed and saddened by the outcome as students begin laughing loudly, mocking his single star. The professor then asks what skill he awakened, but he doesn't respond, prompting her to call his name again. She assumes he's shaken by only having a single star. She hands him his equipment, instructing him to change and proceed to the next phase. Taking the items, Ning wonders in his mind if he really heard correctly. He recalls the moment of awakening when his system appeared, informing him that he had met the conditions for the system awakening. In addition to magic slime, 2 passives appeared: Dark Origin and Mysterious Gift. Dark Origin prevents him from suffering the negative effects of dark force when using curses, and it also allows him to use them without any cost. Meanwhile, Mysterious Gift permits him to cast forbidden spells once a week at no cost. In shock, he questions himself, wondering if dark force isn't the most dangerous type of dark magic in the world. He also ponders how forbidden spells, the highest type of magic, are connected to him. The system then informs him that due to his passive abilities, the magic slime skill has begun to change, transforming into the profane earth shield. Returning to the moment he heads toward the test, he prays that nothing goes wrong. A large purple portal emitting an aura awaits them, as the teacher informs everyone that groups of 50 people will face monsters in this realm so they can become accustomed to their abilities. They won't be able to form teams among themselves, nor can they attack each other. Drones will monitor them to ensure they don't break the rules. She asks them to review their abilities and assures them that no one else will see them so they can remain calm. Ning, equipped with his gear, inspects his status window, which describes the profane earth shield. It calls upon dark forces from another world to form barriers that can crush anyone who approaches. He thinks about how doomed he'd be if anyone discovered his dark magic. He demands an explanation from the dance system as he enters the large purple rift. We soon find ourselves inside, observing a forest with tall trees where people are fighting goblins in various ways. However, our little knockoff Gojo hides behind bushes, reasoning that he can't use his ability with surveillance covering the entire field. He'll need to stay hidden until an opportunity arises since he has no other means of attack. The scene shifts to a room where people are observing the test through drone footage. A man questions why, while everyone else is engaging F-class monsters, little Ning is hiding. Professor Key addresses this man as Captain Joe, explaining that the protagonist awakened late, his health isn't great, and his skill is only defensive. The captain quickly suggests pulling him out, arguing that someone who can't become a real adventurer doesn't need to continue the test. Just after his comment, the man in charge of the drones calls for attention, questioning what's happening. Jao is informed that one of the drones was attacked by something and the transmission cut off. Monitoring then shows a power fluctuation well above the average for this beginner level realm. As he orders a team to investigate, our view shifts to the broken drone in front of a young man sitting on the ground with his broken weapon, wondering why such strong monsters are present in a training session. We then see a cloaked goblin, smiling with claws like Wolverine's, fixing this novice on the ground. Several goblins follow him as he commands them to rise up and refuse to be enslaved, ordering them to bury all the invaders here. The goblins scream at their leader's command, while one of the drones observes the scene. It is soon launched down by a shockwave from the hooded goblin's fist. As it crashes, creating a small explosion, we see the protagonist fallen on the ground with a broken drone in front of him. He wonders why the drone fell, only to realize he is surrounded by goblins. The hooded goblin declares that there's a hidden insect nearby and orders everyone to attack. Ming wonders why so many monsters are gathered here if the hooded figure is their leader. However, in a brief moment of happiness, he notices that all the drones have disappeared. It's goblin fillet time. He raises his hand, declaring it's time to test if this curse is real. A purple aura emanates from his hand toward the sky as dark energy envelops him. He speaks out loud, activating the profane earth shield, and greenish skeletal figures emerge within the energy, charging toward the goblins. In the monitoring room, the head of operations reports that all transmissions have been lost along with an energy leak from the dark force. They suspect the appearance of a magical beast of king level or higher. Calling for reinforcements, Ju orders the evacuation of all civilians in the area, while Professor Kai's thoughts reveal that a king level creature alone is capable of destroying an entire city. She wonders why something so terrifying would appear in the exam. We return to the desperate goblins, with the hooded leader also bewildered by what's happening as the goblins before him are shredded by the monstrous figures of Ning's ability. Ning is awestruck by this dark magic and the strange sensation it brings. The system then begins to notify him of experience points earned for each goblin killed. As the dark energy nears the goblin leader, the leader questions if this boy is even human. How is it possible for him to wield such power? He realizes he's slowing down as the energy closes in, screaming in desperation as he's consumed, becoming just more experience for our protagonist. The system then notifies him of having killed a vanguard goblin, awarding him a total of 6,000 experience points. After defeating the vanguard goblin, he checks his status window. Now he's a level 10 mage. He celebrates reaching level 10 instantly, commenting that in the best case scenario in previous years, they only advanced 1 or 2 levels during this test. He considers how low the energy from ordinary monsters is and how he essentially relied on the elite goblin. He also wonders how an elite monster even appeared in the exam field. Putting that aside for a moment, he notices the drops left behind by the monsters on the ground. But what catches his eye is the item dropped by the vanguard goblin, all of which are orange quality. He examines the item, which permanently increases an attribute, noting he's never seen anything like it before. This item is the Vanguard Badge, a consumable that permanently boosts agility by plus 10 points. He then looks at the Shadow Claw of the Slayer, but it requires level 20 to be used. Equipping it grants certain attributes and a 10% chance to trigger the combo ability. He comments that even though he can't use it yet, he could sell it for a good price, excited that it might help him face some higher level monsters. At that moment, Captain Joe's voice echoes, ordering everyone to abandon the test and use their teleport scrolls to exit. Wondering what's going on, Ming looks around and realizes that the dark energy from his skill has left holes in the ground, devastating everything in the area. Thinking about how frightening it is, he decides he needs to leave quickly to avoid being discovered. Kneeling, he uses his teleport scroll. Along with everyone else, he is teleported back to where they were before entering the realm. Arriving with a mischievous grin, he hears Captain Zhu ordering everyone to leave immediately and head to the city. Joe thinks that even if everyone here joined forces, they wouldn't be able to face a king level or higher creature. Hoping the reinforcements arrive in time, he receives information that the source of the dark energy has vanished. The people in the monitoring room ask him if the creature might have escaped the realm. Captain Zhu then instructs everyone on the Slastoza server call, saying that this situation is now beyond their control and they should avoid causing alarm or disturbances. He orders them to create a magic seal with only one exit, allowing only unrelated individuals to leave. Ning notices Professor Tai listening attentively to her headset. He approaches, calling out to her, but she interrupts him, asking if he's alright. As soon as he confirms he is, she orders him to leave the school with everyone else and not to return unless necessary. The scene shifts to the protagonist walking alongside Wang outside on the street, now in casual clothes, commenting that Professor Tai had a look like she was about to face a mortal enemy. He wonders aloud to Wang about what's going on. Wang replies that they detected an unknown energy source at the school and it's been isolated. The protagonist wonders if this is the fault of the elite monster, lamenting that the test was interrupted just when it was his turn to awaken. The blonde observes him, wondering if he's very shaken by what happened, explaining to him that defensive spells can protect him but aren't suitable for close combat. She then tells him to join her team. He declines, saying he can manage on his own, brushing her off with a wave. He thinks it's not that he doesn't want to, because his only skill is both insanely powerful and corrupted. He can't use it recklessly in front of others. She shouts, pointing her finger in his face, refusing to let him decline. She immediately gives him the time, saying she'll be waiting at the west gate tomorrow morning, walking off without giving him a chance to respond. Trying to speak but being ignored, he wonders why this woman acts as if she's his wife. Frustrated with his hands on his face, he asks himself what he should do but quickly realizes that with her personality, running away would be pointless. Suddenly, he comes up with an idea, though he's unsure if it will work. After devising a plan, we move directly to the front of a massive building called Yuan Cheng Exhibition. Our little cursed one stands before this enormous building, staring at it as he thinks about how some items might have skills embedded in them. Using an item with the magic sludge ability to pass as a mage could be one way to conceal his ability and go along with Wang. He enters the building, hoping his passive skill won't turn the equipment's abilities into curses. Considering also selling the monster drops he collected, he walks in until he's greeted by a dark-haired woman in a suit who seems straight out of One Piece, asking how she can help him. He requests to see any item, clothing, or weapon with a magic sludge ability. Asking if he's a newly awakened student, she explains that low-level spells like magic sludge aren't worth buying and asks if he wouldn't prefer something higher level. Little Ning declines, saying he only needs something temporary, so it doesn't need to be high-ranking. The woman then calls over a rookie assistant to help him and walks away, loudly remarking that after this mess, he seems like a poor soul and she wouldn't waste her time telling the rookie to handle it. A girl with cherry-colored eyes and tied-back brown hair approaches, telling him to let her know if he needs anything. He starts explaining what he's looking for, and the scene cuts to him testing a few items. A glove that looks like the Infinity Gauntlet emanating a blue aura, a sword so heavy he can't lift it, and a ring he seems satisfied with as he thanks the rookie for guiding him through so many shops. Taking the opportunity to ask where he could sell monster items, the girl leads him to the identification room, where an older man stares at him before allowing him in. The rookie introduces him to Master Wang, nicknamed Toothy, explaining that our protagonist wants to sell the items he collected in battle. The protagonist asks for an evaluation of the gauntlet's worth, noting that it's an orange quality item focused on agility and has a low usage level, which makes it great for beginners. He points out that it also has 3 gem slots for customization. Saying it's a good item, he asks the protagonist if he has a price in mind. Ning replies, the higher, the better. Toothy then stands, saying he'll look for potential buyers and asks the rookie, whom we now learn is named Yang, to take care of Ning. Toothy calls an elder named Mr. Zhang, asking if he'd like an item for Jin Lang, while Yang serves tea to Ning. After a while, Toothy returns, announcing he found a buyer willing to pay 50,000 crystals, but Ning will receive 46,000 after fees. Toothy informs him that the protagonist will need to go through a few formalities before he can get his money, and since he's looking to buy some equipment, he'll recommend a few items. We then cut to a group of bystanders, including that same clerk. One of them asks her why she let such fresh meat go if she likes attractive men. She replies that being handsome doesn't matter if he's broke, saying poor men don't deserve her time. The bystanders and the gold digger glance at Master Wang and the client he's escorting. One of the clerks mentions she heard the young man sold an item for 50,000 crystals and is now shopping for another. That's more than 3 months of their salaries combined. The gold digger, in shock, questions why she didn't assist him from the start. In the next scene, Yang tells the protagonist that next time he should look for her directly. She also finally introduces herself as Yang Xin. The following day, we see Ning strolling along, whistling and relaxed. He comments on how he tested the equipment spells the night before and discovered they aren't affected by the system. Now, he doesn't need to expose his abilities. He soon spots Yu and is surprised to find her in this place. But another voice quickly interrupts, a man calling out to Yu. We see a group of 4 people, a blue-haired mage, a warrior with a shield, a red-haired berserker with facial scars, and a short-haired, pink-haired girl who's a cleric. The cleric and the berserker greet Ning calmly, while Yu introduces them as members of her guild. Meanwhile, the mage and the knight eye Ning as if he owes them something. Ning wonders why they're looking at him that way, while the blue-haired man approaches Yu, mentioning that she's about to go through her second transformation. It's explained in Ning's thoughts that every 30 levels, you can undergo a transformation. This means Yu is close to level 60, making her worthy of being called a prodigy. She asks if something happened to prompt this question, but he simply hands her a potion, saying it's nothing special and just something he wanted to give her in honor of the achievement. It's an advanced agility potion that permanently boosts agility by plus 3 points. It's orange quality and consumable. The berserker remarks that it's a high-quality item that boosts attributes, while the cleric comments that it must be worth a lot. The blue-haired one replies that price isn't an issue. It only cost a few thousand crystals. He explains that what matters is that it's a good item, hard to come by, though his father managed to acquire it through some friends. However, to the rich kid's dismay, he rejects his gift, telling him to take it back. When he asks if she isn't committed to entering the best university, the spoiled rich kid watches her turn away and start walking off, saying she doesn't need it, and that they have other things to take care of, so they'd best be on their way. Interrupting her as she walks, blue-haired asks if she really prefers wasting time with this kind of trash, pointing toward our protagonist. Yu immediately warns him to watch his words, giving him an irritated glare. As blue-haired continues to mock, he questions what would happen, claiming that his star is just garbage destined to never amount to anything in life. Even Ning wonders why he's being attacked like this and thinks to himself that he might just have enough problems that only a forbidden spell could solve. The short-haired cleric approaches blue-haired, calling him by his name, Zhao Cheng, and tells him it's time to go. Telling him to leave Ning alone, she she adds that Ning can't even afford a simple potion. Zhao sneers at Ning, telling him to go away and stop embarrassing them. But Ning fires back, asking if Zhao is some rabid dog who bites whoever he wants, mocking that a mere +3 potion doesn't give him the right to show off. Blue-haired, enraged, retorts, asking if this poor kid wants to die talking like that. The knight joins the conversation, asking if Ning really has something better, otherwise he shouldn't speak so lightly about such a precious potion. Agreeing with the knight, Zhao taunts Ning, suggesting that if he really has something better, he wouldn't mind kneeling and banging his head on the ground. But if he doesn't, then Ning should be the one to kneel. Without hesitation, Ning pulls out the Vanguard badge from his pocket, telling them to brace themselves and thinking that this would be his gift to you. Everyone stares in awe as Yu asks if it really is an accessory that grants a permanent attribute increase, admitting that she's never seen anything like it. Yu's group questions if a +10 permanent boost could really exist, suspecting it might be a fake. Ning urges Yu to try it, inviting her to prove whether it's real or not. Using the excuse that he found it at home, Ning convinces Yu, who hesitated, saying that this item was meant to be hers. As soon as she uses the item, she announced out loud that her attributes did indeed increase. The cleric is amazed, while the two who doubted Ning insist it must be impossible and accuse him of having stolen such a treasure. Ning, mocking them, suggests they smash their heads against the ground since their ears must be clogged. While Zhao protests, saying you won't do it, Yu asks him if he's going to back down. The berserker and cleric look at him judgmentally as he finally drops to his knees and bows to Ning, seething with anger at being forced to do so. Calling Yu to go, Ning bids farewell to the group, saying they'll see each other around. We then skip forward to Ning and Yu walking together, now in a distance. Yu begins to apologize for Zhao and the others, but he cuts her off, saying their relationship doesn't require apologies. He then insists that he'd actually prefer if she didn't accompany him and focused on going alone to enroll in the best academy and achieve her second transformation. In his mind, however, he admits he just wants space to train properly without her around. Yu reassures him not to worry, but he responds that he isn't worried. She hands him 2 books, which he notes are purple quality skill books. She tells him to use and learn these abilities when he reaches the appropriate level. Ning asks if they weren't expensive, but Yu says that compared to the badge he gave her, it's nothing, so he accepts. The scene then cuts directly to a graveyard dungeon, where we see a dark landscape filled with gravestones. Suddenly, a hand bursts from the ground, followed by 2 undead figures rising from the earth. They shuffle toward the pair, already inside the dungeon, but then 2 energy arrows fly toward the undead, hitting both in the head and killing them instantly. Ning congratulates Yu on her accuracy. Internally, he grumbles that the experience here is absurdly low, but he can't reveal to her that he's already at level 10. Feeling uncertain, he's not sure what to do when he receives a call on her phone. She answers, and the cleric on the other end informs her that the great boss, the fallen necromancer, is about to appear. Noting that it's a rare chance, she asks Yu if she'll go. Zhao Cheng insists that Yu must go, as without her, they won't be able to win, and the fallen necromancer may drop rare items useful for mages, which are important to him. Yu looks at Ning, hesitant, but he tells her to go, assuring her that with everyone focused on this dungeon, he can continue training later. She agrees, telling him to wait for her in the safe area. He responds with a thumbs up, watching as she runs off. As she leaves, he jokingly calls her Granny, and she calls him an idiot and tells him to shut up. Once Yu is out of sight, Ning relishes finally being alone and thanks his lucky stars that such a powerful boss has appeared today. Happy to have prepared with 2 new skills, he notes that the book Miss Yu gave him can only be used at level 15. Regardless, all these skills can be used for free once, so the more he has, the better. However, at his current level, he only has 3 skill slots, revealing that players unlock 1 skill slot every 5 levels. The scene shifts to the middle of the cemetery, where various creatures roam with a hooded skeleton standing out among them. We see a group of background characters gathered, one in heavy armor, warning that they need to clear all the creatures to reach the end of the dungeon, where the boss awaits. He advises everyone to be cautious, as the monsters are tough. Suddenly, they're hit by a large flame. A support player urges the group to hurry, as another team has already reached the boss area. They wonder how the other team got there so quickly, and then recognize the members as Wang Yu and Zhao Cheng, who belong to the Sovereign Lion Guild, a group with national-level talent. We see Yu's team obliterating the creatures, while Zhao Cheng boasts that they'll be the ones to defeat the boss. As he brags, the barbarian and cleric discuss how Yu's strength has improved thanks to the +10 agility item. The scene then cuts to a massive tower surrounded by rugged mountain ranges, where a large rift opens near the tower. Ning emerges from the rift, already inside the tower, speaking of his new ability to teleport. This is the Void Walker skill, allowing him to cross into the dark world and move to another location, with a duration of 1 hour. As he steps onto the floor, a dark reddish aura emerges and a large skeletal figure cloaked in black rises, noticing Ning's presence and mocking him for being late. The giant skeleton casts a spell, launching what seems to be a green fireball with a monstrous face. The fireball strikes where Ning stands, exploding into green flames, leaving a large scorched mark on the floor. The skeletal necromancer mocks Ning, questioning how an adventurer dares appear alone. But sensing a presence behind him, he turns to see Ning emerging from another rift, with a chilling look in his eyes, saying he came alone so he wouldn't have to share the loot with others. The necromancer is taken aback as Ning raises his hand and reveals his newly unlocked skill, Meteor Shower. Rocks begin to fall from the sky, enveloped in cursed flames that wreak havoc across the area. Massive rocks plummet from above, hitting the tower and the necromancer, destroying the structure and part of the surrounding area in a blast that raises a cloud of dust. From the smoke, we see Ning's silhouette emerging, smiling, having killed multiple creatures along with the fallen necromancer, earning 50,000 experience points. With this experience, he reaches level 30, which enables his first transformation. Looking around at the drops scattered on the ground, he raises his hand, thinking about using the gems and jewels he collected, even if the books you gave him aren't exclusive, as they're still worth a lot of money. He receives the Pendant of the Fallen Law, requiring level 30 to use, a black soulstone material, and the necromancer's emblem. He picks up the necromancer's emblem, equips it, and immediately absorbs it, calculating that even though it costs him 3 stamina, he gains an advantage with a 15-point spirit boost. Suddenly, a system notification appears, alerting him that due to the detection of a special item, the necromancer's emblem, he can choose between the secret undead mage class during his transformation or activate his secret mission to unlock the all-element mage class. Considering how rare secret classes are and knowing there's no other way to obtain them, he speculates that emblems might serve to unlock hidden classes. He declares aloud that he doesn't need any more information and will become the all-element mage, smiling as meteors continue to fall around the dungeon. The scene shifts to use group, startled by the meteors striking around them. The barbarian questions how such a powerful spell is possible, while Yu urges everyone to retreat and follow her, warning that if they stay, they'll be flattened to ash. Jiao Cheng protests, saying they shouldn't abandon the boss, but Yu snaps at him, asking if he wants them all to die in this situation. Rumbling about their bad luck, he finally agrees. Yu takes out her phone to message Ning, but he responds, saying he already left to take care of something. We transition to outside the dungeon, where Ning approaches a temple and notices there's hardly anyone around. He spots a woman who asks if he's there for the transformation mission. Confirming, she promptly begins to register his information, his name, age, and class. Curious, she wonders aloud if he really only managed to awaken at 18 and only achieved a 1-star class. Finding his qualifications poor, she asks him to follow her to the awakening area for 1-star mages. They arrive in a room with various floating crystals arranged around a circular space in the center. She instructs him to follow the steps, saying she'll leave him to it, and Ning simply thanks her. We follow the woman as she walks away, encountering a familiar face, Captain Joe, who stops her to report the results of an investigation. He explains that the sinister cemetery suffered extensive damage and the energy source hasn't been found, though it's estimated to be at king-level strength. She asks if there really were 2 king-level threats in 2 days. Captain Zhao replies that's exactly why he was sent here and tells her, Jing, to put Lone Shadow into action. The scene cuts to the system notification about the first transformation mission for the Necromancer class, in which Ning needs to enter the realm of illusions at the tomb of Wu Manguai to obtain the item Crown of the Blood Soul. The mission has a 3-day deadline and an A-level difficulty rating. We see a masked figure with white hair floating in elaborate attire, displaying another system screen. This one details the prerequisites for the first transformation mission for the God of All Magic Systems class, which requires Ning to enter the realm of illusions in the Temple of the Radiant Sun and obtain the sacred emblem item. This mission has an S-level difficulty and also a 3-day deadline. He decides to choose the God of All Magic Systems class, reasoning that it's only an initial mission. Another window appears, confirming his choice as he starts out with the mission selected. He's relieved to have 3 days, appreciating that the timeline isn't too tight. As he leaves, he says goodbye to a woman who also bids him farewell, but he realizes that this woman is different from the one he met earlier. The scene shifts back to the destroyed, fallen Necromancer's tower. In the shadows of the cavern, silhouettes are visible as a rookie comments on seeing a lone shadow for the first time, while Captain Jiao tells him to keep his voice down, reminding him that the very existence of this organization is a secret that must not be leaked. Jiao mentions that it's rumored all members of this organization possess a hidden class that allows them to harness the power of the dark force in combat, specifically for completing special missions. The woman from earlier, now clad in armor, comments that even though the energy has almost entirely dissipated, it still affects her due to its overwhelming power. She tells the 2 men who were speaking earlier that they haven't found any leads on the culprit, who likely vanished after causing the destruction, leaving them unable to discern his motives. Zhao asks her if there might be a connection between the anomalies occurring in the secret realms and this recent incident. She can't confirm anything, but says she'll consult her superiors and request reinforcements. The rookie asks if they really sent the Lone Shadow's Hurricane herself, and if they're genuinely that concerned, then speculates that it might not even be a monster. Jing cuts him off, asking if he suspects it's a mutant like herself. He apologizes, saying he didn't mean to imply that. She replies replies that the power level exceeded king level, pointing out that a human body couldn't handle controlling such massive dark energy. The man deduces that an unusually powerful monster must be lurking in the region, posing a potential catastrophe. She agrees, saying they need to locate it as soon as possible since it's hiding in the shadows. The scene then shifts directly to the protagonist's home, which is pitch dark as he closes the curtains, remarking that he finds the darkness strangely comforting. Sitting on the floor, he mentions that he's reached level 30, now having 4 additional magic slots. He immediately unlocks the 2 skills you gave him. The first, Arcane Shield, automatically fuses with Unholy Earth Shield, forming the Unholy Earth Defense. This new passive ability nullifies up to 100% of the damage that the Unholy Earth Shield absorbs. It activates automatically when he's attacked, and the defense capacity gradually regenerates after use. He grins, noting that weaker skills can combine to form new abilities, and says that normal attacks are ineffective against him. Checking what the other book does, he finds that it's Skill, Falling Rock Technique, infused with Unholy Earth Shield and Meteor Shower to create Earth Elemental Mastery, which increases the effects of all Earth skills by 20%. Looking at his system, he sees he still has 4 active skill slots open, so he plans to visit Yuan Chang's exhibition again to purchase more skill books. Upon arriving at the exhibition, we see the protagonist enter, glancing around and passing the same opportunistic woman he encountered last time. As he walks past, she recognizes him and steps in front of him, informing him that if he's looking for Miss Yang, she's busy with another client, so she'll accompany him today. He brushes her off, saying he'll browse on his own, ignoring her and leaving her visibly irritated. She tells him not to worry, that it's her job, but she is soon interrupted by Yang, who arrives running. The protagonist asks her if she has finished her work, but she explains she wasn't with a client, she was just having a snack in the back. He apologizes for interrupting her meal and promises to take her out for dinner later, while the opportunistic woman complains in the background. The scene cuts directly to Master Wang's office, where he examines the items Ning wants to sell, which include 2 purple-grade skill books. Ning also requests to purchase skills for mages, and Wang asks Yang to assist him while he searches for buyers. In his mind, however, Wang starts to grow suspicious of Ning, thinking back to the last visit when he sold an orange-grade weapon, and now he's bringing in 2 purple quality books. Wang considers sending someone to investigate Ning's background, curious about his past. The scene shifts to a restaurant where Ning and Yang are finishing up a good meal. Ning asks for the check, but she tells him she already paid, even though they had agreed that he would cover it. He looks confused, but she insists she has her reasons and that he shouldn't worry about it. He asks what she means, but she says it's her little secret. Outside, they talk about how he now owes her one, but she denies it, explaining that she has somewhere else to be. She then calls a taxi, gets in, and he wishes her a safe journey. The driver asks where they're headed, and she replies that they're going to Municipal Hospital No. 2. She thinks to herself that thanks to Ning, she earned a good commission and can finally pay her father's medical expenses for the month. Suddenly, as the driver continues driving, the car windows shatter with a loud noise, sending shards of glass and blood inside. The cause of the accident soon becomes clear. A massive blue portal has appeared in the city's center, with creatures pouring out, attacking people on the street and smashing cars. The creature that caused the accident had hurled itself at the car, raking through the window and killing the driver. Yang managed to leap out of the vehicle, landing on the ground, and questions how monsters could enter the safe zone. As she stands up, she sees a large, muscular creature with 2 claws and a blood-stained shell, the same creature that had just killed the driver. In the sky, a humanoid silhouette emerges from the portal and slowly descends. Its right arm appears to be affected by some kind of mutation, and as it smiles, we can see what looks like a skull pendant with a blue gem around its neck. Suddenly, our view cuts to a large explosion. Within the flames of the explosion, we see the massive creature that just attacked Yang, roaring as the flames dissipate. We see Yang, impressed with her arm extended, asking if her magic had no effect at all. A screen appears showing that she is a 1-star mage at level 34. The enormous creature leaps down to attack her, but mid-air, its body disintegrates into blood. We see a man holding a large sword, wearing heavy armor, emanating a glow from his blade. The creature's blood splatters as Yang protects herself, realizing that it was Captain Zhao who defended her. He asks if she's alright, and after she replies that she is, he warns her that if she can move, she should find a place to hide. As Yang begins to run, Zhao questions whether the entire environment has truly been corrupted, explaining that the secret realm has started to merge with reality. He adds that he has never seen such a severe decay. Looking at the remains of the creature he just sliced, he warns that these creatures are far too strong for 1-star people to handle. He reflects on the scientist's words, which indicated that there is an incredibly powerful creature within the realm that could cause trouble at any moment. As he ponders whether this could be the one they are searching for, he is suddenly startled by a hand approaching rapidly. He dodges quickly, getting into a fighting stance and questioning whether this human is a mutant. We are shown the being that emerged from the enormous rift, a man with blue hair, part of his body modified to resemble armor. He has bands with symbols around his neck and a band on his head. This man denies being a mutant and tells Zhao not to compare him to scum-like mutants, revealing himself to be the guardian of the power of darkness. Zhao wonders if he has heard of a guardian before, but concludes that he hasn't, though he knows it's not the time to dwell on that. He initiates combat, charging at the guardian in an attempt to catch him off guard with a slash, but he is repelled back by a direct punch from the modified arm. Zhao is thrown backward, complaining that this man must be at least above the third transformation as he hits the ground. The guardian lowers his finger and begins to laugh, warning that this is his territory, emanating a blue aura with black lightning. He smiles, his eyes turning black with glowing blue pupils. This man grins broadly as he begins to advance, declaring that someone as weak as Zhao is not fit to withstand a confrontation against him. He approaches quickly and delivers a direct blow to Zhao's armored chest. Although Zhao was in a defensive stance, he is struck easily, his body being thrown back, leaving a trail of blood behind. The guardian laughs, celebrating that he has indeed grown stronger, stating that stepping on this land brings a sensation of constant power surging. A glow begins to emanate from the stone of his necklace, producing a strange voice that warns the guardian he is just a weak human and should not be satisfied yet. The guardian apologizes, appearing frightened. The voice returns, informing him that the power he is using was granted by it, telling him that without it, he would be just another piece of trash, weak and useless like a crawling creature, just like the other humans. We see the guardian's mind transported to a dark and strange environment as a rift opens, revealing an eye, followed by a face and a body of a creature that emanates a sinister aura. This creature warns him to prove his worth by using the people in the city as sacrifices so that it can dominate this world. The guardian agrees, and our view shifts to a normal environment where we see Ning exiting a building with his hand in his pocket, opening his eyes and wondering what happened during the time he went to the bathroom. We see people lying on the floor, remnants of tables and objects scattered about, with a creature wandering among them. This creature turns around, noticing Ning's presence, and begins to advance toward him, releasing a strange grunt. Ning simply waits as it approaches. Just as the creature gets close, the ground starts to crack, and a massive pointed pillar of rock erupts from it, splitting the creature in half. Ning remains still, extending his hand forward as he thanks his luck for having bought a gauntlet with a purple quality magic thorn wall attached. He is merely taking advantage of the bonus from his stone magic. We see him begin to open the doors to the outside, revealing that he was apparently in a restaurant looking out at the scene that is completely filled with this strange matter, while we see a blood-soaked man being dragged. He is thrown to the ground, and we realize that the one dragging him is the guardian, who starts walking toward the protagonist. Suddenly, our view cuts to a large explosion. Within the flames of the explosion, we see the massive creature that just attacked Yang, roaring as the flames dissipate. We see Yang, impressed with her arm extended, asking if her magic had no effect at all. The guardian questions how it is possible for this human to have blocked his assault so easily. The voice of the creature from the necklace returns to the guardian's mind, stating that the aura before him is so strong, the most powerful dark force. It warns the guardian that the boy's power far exceeds his own, and that he senses a more terrifying aura than death itself coming from him. Ning loudly asks the guardian if he, being strong, is going to use a forbidden curse in the city. His eyes widen with a mix of rage and bloodlust. As he expands his defense, he shatters the guardian's arm's shell, causing the guardian to question whether his arm was truly rendered useless so easily. He calls for help from his leader, but is told that the one he is trying to reach is unreachable. We hear a scream as we shift our view to another location, where the strange creatures are desperately rushing back into the rift, with someone inside urging them to be quick, because the doors are almost closing. We return our focus to Ning and the guardian, who, holding his own arm, questions what has happened to his power. Meanwhile, we see a smile along with Ning's shining eyes. The chapter begins differently, explaining how the so-called mutants work. During the awakening process, they emerge with the secret class Shadow, which allows them to wield dark force, making them more powerful than ordinary classes at the same level. However, once they lose the protection of the dark force, we are shown again the confrontation between Ning and the former guardian, who screams as he is pierced in the chest by a large stone spike. We see items falling to the ground while Ning sighs, noting that he was indeed difficult to deal with. His luck is that he can fully focus on the attack without worrying about defense. Ning states that he will collect the fallen items first before anyone notices, and then head home. We cut to a scene outside a building where two people are walking and talking. Jing is accompanied by a girl with short hair, who informs her that the monsters that emerged from the realm have retreated and the invasion of the realm has vanished. Jing starts to think about the recent events, considering the two destructive abilities used, the invasion of a realm in reality that appeared and then suddenly disappeared, wondering what the enemies want. She asks the girl with short hair what happened in other areas. The girl replies that they are generally safe, except for the significant losses and destruction in the southern region. Jing mentions that this is the area Captain Zhao was responsible for. She suggests they should take a look at the region. The scene darkens, and we now see a man examining the body of the former captain, now dead, with a pierced arm from spikes. This gray-haired man asks if all their belongings were stolen. The man's name is revealed to be Du, and as his shout echoes, ordering him not to move and to state his name. We see Jing and the short-haired girl approaching while Du reveals himself to be a member of the Cloud Kingdom. He shows his identification emblem while Jing questions whether it's the unofficial organization composed internally of fighters. He confirms this as Jing asks again if they don't usually operate in secrecy, then inquires why he is in this location. Duan looks at the dead former guardian, stating that he was part of his organization but betrayed them. He aided the invasion of reality by directing the creatures from the rift toward their camp, but only a few survived. The girl with short hair asks if this just happened, and Jing adds if it was the death of this man that ended the invasion. Duan asks if they were the ones who killed him, but Jing denies it, stating that they don't even know who it was. Du-en reflects that the former guardian hid within the spaces in realms and that he had searched for him multiple times, but he always escaped. Jing continues her reasoning, thinking that Zhao was the strongest in the third transformation, yet he was easily defeated. She contemplates that for someone to have stopped the invasion and defeated someone so strong, they both share the same thought that perhaps there is indeed someone so formidable in the city of King Yu. Du-en interrupts her thoughts, beginning to move away as he says he will look for something after Jing asks where he is going. We go directly to Ning's home, where he is celebrating that the former captain dropped 2 sets of orange armor from the fighter class, though they require level 120. He thinks that this is more exciting than fighting bosses, and that since he wasn't using those sets, he likely didn't have a level to equip them. Otherwise, he would need to use some forbidden magic to gain the necessary level. Ning pulls out the necklace he was wearing, seeing that it has no specifications and its information is unknown. He wonders if there is some ancient god hidden inside this pendant. We see another location, observing Ning's face through a globe. The same creature that was speaking with the former guardian is saying that it's a good thing he closed the distortion in time and hopes he hasn't been discovered. We see him seated on a throne, observing the globe that shows Ning. As he looks at Ning, he's asking about an ancient god inside the pendant, which causes a tremendous panic in this creature, leading to a drop in graphic quality as it orders to cut off contact before its location is revealed. All the creatures start to run, tidying the place up to resolve the issue. We see the creature desperate and panting as it stammers, saying how fortunate it is that it managed to close the rift and almost died from fright, asking how Ning felt it. We shift directly to the city hospital, where we see a room in which Captain Zhao states that it was that young fighter who saved them, and as soon as the enemy saw him, they fled through the rift. Jing confirms that Du-en indeed didn't seem weaker than her, so it's possible. Meanwhile, the assistant beside her asks if even such a strong man wasn't able to defeat the former captain, and if it's truly a mystery that killed him. Jing affirms that it seems so, at least for now. She mentions that he could just be passing through or hiding, but whoever did this is definitely a recorded mystery. She states that aside from the common marks of magic at the scene, nothing else was found. Zhao begins to say that if this mystery truly lived around here, he would feel safer. The assistant expresses an exaggerated idea while we see the exterior of the hospital building. He continues his sentence by asking if there are traces of the dark force from the battlefield last night. Zhao confirms that there were some monsters from the realm present. The assistant insists that it's a crazy idea, but he asks if this great mystery could be a mutant. After all, the 2 forbidden spells caused no fatalities for them. He continues his sentence asking if this great mystery could be, but he is cut off by Zhao, who states that this is impossible and that he's just overthinking it. Jing starts to wonder if he really is thinking too far from reality. The scene changes to Ning walking down the street, approaching 2 security guards. He introduces himself while notifying the guards that he has come for a class change mission. We see a vast location with a symbol of the sun, as Ning confirms that this is the Temple of the Radiant Sun. Behind him, we see a shadow lurking behind a rock, spying on Ning, revealing itself to be Du-en as we flash back to a few days earlier at the exposition. We see Du-en entering the room with the broker announcing to Master Wan that he has arrived. Wan greets Du-en and asks if he is the one interested in a set of armor for a 4-transformation fighter. The broker begins to think about how tall, elegant, and strong he is and how her future would be secured if she were beside him. She wouldn't have to worry about the future. Wan continues, saying that an old client just called to sell a 4-star armor set for fighters. However, he only has 2 pieces, the pants and the breastplate. Du-en asks where this seller is, but Wang says he cannot come today. In Du-en's mind, he begins to think about the pants and breastplate being 4-star. Although it's not yet confirmed, it's likely that this is his master's legacy. We return to the normal world with Du-en asking where this client is and that he would even pay for the information. Wang questions what is happening and wonders internally if it is a coincidence. He thinks about how Ning Feng just announced the armor set, and then this man appear asking for information, as if they had planned it. He begins to tell Du-en that he remembers the seller mentioning something about going to a neighboring city to settle some matters, so he would call to confirm. We go inside Master Wang's office as he questions the broker if the gentleman has already left. She confirms that she escorted him out while asking if anything was wrong. He begins to discuss having done some investigations into Ning's background. He is just a young man with both parents being ordinary with common 2-star classes. They disappeared when he was young in an accident, leaving him alone. After that, he went to Academy number 7 and only awakened at 18, but he is only a 1-star class. He states aloud that he thought he was stronger, but he seems very weak. The broker begins to think in her head that she always found him suspicious with that poor appearance, and now he would be exposed. She asks aloud how he managed to acquire the items he was selling in the shop, and how a 1-star could obtain such good things. Wang asserts that this is the problem. He might even be friends with the daughter of the Wang group, but the group hasn't helped him much. She has a lapse in her thoughts, considering that the man didn't seem happy. Then she exclaims loudly, asking if Ning might have stolen the set. Wang warns that it may not have been stolen, but it certainly wasn't obtained legitimately, and this time Ming has annoyed the wrong person. She agrees, noting that after all, a person with 4 transformations is a strong figure even in Beishan province. She thinks he probably stole these items, and now he's going to be in big trouble. We return our view to the area of the Temple of the Radiant Sun, where we see Du-en chasing Ming throughout the location. He thinks while following him that it's incredible that someone so young managed to clear a realm that even people like his master couldn't handle the bosses. But apparently, his master's set is in Ning's hands. He gets closer while continuing to think that even if he isn't the strong one, someone behind him is, so he better be careful. Ning observes the battlefield where adventurers are fighting against common creatures. But we go back to Duin's perspective, looking at Ning from behind as he raises his arm and equips his standard armor set. Duin contemplates how he might estimate Ning's strength based on his clothing. However, as soon as Ning reveals his novice mage outfit, Duin looks foolish. Seeing how ordinary it is and resembling a freshly graduated student, he suspects it might be a disguise. He thinks that for his age, a novice disguise wouldn't draw attention and would make it easy for him to blend into the crowd. He sees that he might try to hide and evade him, and since he cannot follow too closely, he ends up using his skill to mark Ning with the spiritual sensor. This locates the target within his own consciousness without being detected. He chooses Ning's casual appearance to mark him. Ning walks across the battlefield, heading directly for the temple, while Duin questions why he is in this realm with so many high-level monsters. We see Ning entering the boss room being immediately attacked by one of the creatures present, but the attack is completely nullified by Ning's passive shield. Duin is startled by the unbreakable absolute defense. He notices how the monsters are avoiding him, confirming that he is truly not simple. We see the poor monsters fleeing desperately from this psychopath. While Duin looks at a massive statue, seemingly made of bronze, seated on a throne and gazing forward, he thinks that this must be the final boss and wonders if Ning will really face him alone. As Ming speaks aloud, celebrating the absence of anyone nearby, Duin wonders why he is facing a low-level boss, and especially why the statue is not moving. Ning thinks that the mission guide did not mention this statue, so he simply begins to walk around the throne, heading toward a corridor behind it. We see as he circles the statue, trembling in fear and sweating, hoping not to be discovered by this living hack. Even Duin questions why he is going around while Ning celebrates having found the location. A massive armored being with golden wings, a hood, and an elegant pose hovers in the air within a beautifully decorated room. We see this silver armor with golden details as we approach the hood, where inside we see the light of this creature's eyes as it begins to move. Ning wonders why the creature has retreated, but our view returns to Duan, who questions whether he knew about the existence of this hidden boss, and if it really is a rare hidden boss. We then see that the mission for the god class of all magic systems has been activated, with the objective of defeating the secret boss, the six-winged angel. Ning begins to question how someone would be able to deal with this on their first class change, noting that it is truly a rank S mission. We then see the angel fleeing, telling itself that this is its own realm, so where could it go? This is terrible. It breaks through the ceiling, trying to distance itself as much as possible from Ning. As golden lightning strikes from the sky, we see it flying outside, but just below, Ning simply observes with his right hand in his pocket. He raises it afterward as a purple aura surrounds his hand, wearing a serious expression. The system notifies that the forbidden skill Thunderfall has been activated, summoning a great storm of lightning that displays the power of the heavens. We see a massive eye opening in the middle of the clouds with a golden pupil, like a god observing a worm, as an overwhelming electrical energy strikes toward the ground like an obliterating lightning bolt that completely disintegrates the existence of this small pigeon. Meanwhile, Ning continues posing in front of the descending lightning from the sky. We see a large destroyed area billowing smoke as it crumbles, with Duin on the ground looking up, not understanding what just happened, revealing that the structure was actually the temple. He says he has never seen anything so destructive in his life, and that this power is something terrifying. He wonders if this could be someone who has reached the 8 transformations, a legendary figure who is definitely above his master. We return to Ning, who is observing the pierced ceiling, stating that until he completes this transformation, he won't be able to level up, complaining about wasting experience. He takes the emblem he needed in his hand, affirming that he got the item, so it isn't so bad, as he pulls out a teleportation scroll to leave the area. He hears someone telling him to wait, and it is Duan who arrives running. We see the face of someone who locked the doors so tightly that even Ning couldn't get a Wi-Fi signal, while asking if he had seen anything. Duan also looks frightened, but it's because Ning's expression is very serious. He tries to calm the situation by asking Ming not to get angry, and that he could explain himself. As he finishes speaking, we hear an alarm starting to sound, and Ning tells him they should leave the place first and talk outside. Duan agrees, and the next scene is on a hill, with just a huge tree. Duan is sitting on the ground as Ning asks if he has been following him the whole time. Duan apologizes, stating that he didn't intend to, and just wanted to confirm something. Besides, he looks very young, so he didn't know if he could trust his vision. He starts to explain that even though his master was strong, he sacrificed himself to temporarily seal the realm, but the traitor managed to escape. Duan continues, expressing anger while clenching his fists that over the years, this traitor sacrificed countless humans to undo the seal. He even pursued him but was never able to catch up. Ning looks foolish, thinking about this guy being at the 4th transformation. If he hadn't revealed himself, he would never have noticed him. He considers that even with the forbidden skills, his level is very low, so it's just a matter of time before he gets discovered for his foolishness. Duan looks frightened while staring seriously at Ning as if he might tear a piece out of him. Duan thinks to himself that Ning has gone silent all of a sudden, wondering if he is considering killing him to hide his secret. Even though he is scared, Duan thanks him for avenging his deceased master, stating that if he needs anything in the future, he will be there to help. Ning thinks about him not being weak and apparently being solitary, so forming a good relationship relationship would be very useful. Ning then makes it clear that no one besides him can know what happened in that place. Duan assures him that he can rest easy. He will keep the secret, while in his mind he thinks about Ning's magic possessing a great power of dark force, but it does not harm innocents, and he is the one who cleared the invasion from the realm and saved the city. So even though he doesn't understand why he should remain discreet despite being so strong, he owes him his respect. In any case, he has nowhere to go, so he will stay in Kinyu for the time being. We see Ning getting up and starting to walk with Duan following him. Our protagonist's phone starts ringing as he answers, saying the name Professor Kai. She asks where he is, and he quickly responds that he is outside the city and will be back soon, questioning if she needs anything. She informs him that she has some things to ask him and that if he has time later when he returns, he should meet her. She suddenly hangs up while he wonders why she would call out of the blue. But we cut directly to a meeting room where Professor Kai is talking to Jing. Jing asks what she said, and Professor Ki affirms that he is fine and will be back soon. Jing mentions how he awakened a few days ago and already reached the first transformation. She comments that if it weren't for the investigation, he would have gone unnoticed. Kai adds that Ning is studious and has good character, so she trusts that he is not a bad person. Jing states that she is not insinuating that he is bad, she just needs to clarify some things. She looks with a bit of distrust as the scene shifts to a conference room. In this room, a man starts announcing some preliminary information, stating that soon the superiors would be interested in this. An old man questions if there is anything else to discuss, while Jing asks if they think the spells used in the city were caused by mutants. They all look at each other, while the old man steps forward, warning that she herself is a mutant, so why is she asking this? This same old man begins to explain that the mutants use the power of dark force, but need to pay an equivalent price. The stronger the mutant, the stronger the price to be paid. The costs can vary from losing sanity, life, or even turning into monsters. Even common prices, if used carelessly, can lead to a terrible fate. We see a man suffering from the negative effects of dark force as the explanation is given, and then we see Jing's face, with the old man finishing by emphasizing that a mutant with the strength of a king is impossible. We see a man with blue hair, similar to Vegeta's, jumping into the conversation, calling Jing an old friend, warning her that she is starting to lose her mind as she is the only one to invent a mutant of king level. He advises her to go write stories since she enjoys making them up so much. Jing cuts him off, stating that she is just considering all the options, and whether he wants to listen to them is up to him. This same blue-haired man asks if she is really trying to explain herself, then clearly she is incompetent and cannot figure anything out. He states that if there really were a mutant at king level, he would rip off his own head for her to use as a wall. The old man adds that everyone has sent investigation teams to the city of Kinyu, asking for cooperation and informing them that the investigation team will assist with all the work they need. He informs her that the requests for reinforcements from the Lone Shadow have not been approved. She questions if this is a lack of confidence in her, but he responds that no, it is not a lack of confidence, and she should just be patient. Jing stretches her arms out in front of her as the door is suddenly opened by the short-haired girl. She screams for Captain Jing, announcing that she has breaking news. The Radiant Sun Temple has been hit by a destructive spell, and there are injuries at the scene. Professor Qi joins the conversation, informing them that Ning Feng was undergoing his first transformation test at. She is interrupted by Jing, who confirms exactly he performed it at the Radiant Sun Temple. She gets a small smile, thinking that this is finally starting to get more interesting. We observe the city of Longmo from above with a large protective shield. We see Ning with Duan in the middle of a crowd, asking what might be happening at the Radiant Sun Temple. The people, scared by what's going on, are beginning to be calmed by a soldier who claims that the shield is at a higher level, isolating the dark powers outside of it, and it will not affect the area inside the shield. Ning could only think that he had drawn too much attention and triggered the alert level again. He couldn't do anything but wait for the alert to pass and then go home by car. Outside the rift, we see dark energy passing through the sky, and from this tier, a face starts to emerge, revealing itself as a creature. A slightly smaller one follows it. The monster in front asks if this is really the human world and notices that they have launched the magical shield, and at the same time wonders why it is still active. The creature behind it says it's because humans are fragile and like to hide in their shells, while many creatures begin to follow them. After some of them emerge, the probable general informs that the divine artifact can no longer stop them, points a finger at the city, and orders everyone to attack, surprising the humans. From the humans' perspective, we see the shield break and the entire small army passes through without much difficulty. The humans start asking what is happening, but by the time they realize, it is too late. The creatures have already arrived and started attacking them while they tried to flee. One of the soldiers asks why they managed to break through, and the other adds that the shield wasn't damaged, it was simply surpassed. In the middle of the crowd, the soldier watches as they stop pushing and take care not to be hit by his sword. People crash into each other in the rush to escape, but in the midst of this crowd, Duan uses his energy to form a barrier so they aren't hit by the crowd. He warns Ning that it is probably another high-level invasion. Our protagonist asks if it's like what happened in Kinyu the previous night. Duan asks if they need to intervene, but Ning questions whether Duan has a solution for this with a surprised expression. After Ning's question, Duan misinterprets it, thinking that Ning is very strong and would handle the situation easily. So the only reason he is asking for a solution solution is to test him and see what he can do. Duan tells him to leave it to him, while stretching, thinking he's striking a cool pose. However, our protagonist couldn't care less, thinking that there were too many people in the area and he shouldn't get involved, so it would be better to leave it to the authorities. He tells Duan to go, but at that moment, a massive explosion occurs in the middle of the crowd as the general of the army falls among them. He arrives laughing while being attacked by arrows from a soldier. He screams for the soldier to die, but the arrows are deflected with just his hand. To the misfortune of a knight who tried to attack from behind, this creature is faster and hits him first, sending him flying. The soldiers around wonder why they can't even scratch this creature. The general starts walking toward the crowd after the blow, disappointed with the humans for not having anyone strong there. The crowd, now in panic, begins to scream and flee even more, trampling each other while crying for help. Another girl gets left behind in the middle of the crowd, with the general behind her, raising his sword. The general screams that they are useless. However, the sound of swords clashing is heard as Luan strikes a badass pose, holding the enormous sword of this creature with just a dagger with golden details, giving the girl time to escape. Duan says that although Ning doesn't need protection, the rest are in danger, so he couldn't just do nothing and watch. Therefore, he will take care of it. By hearing this, Ning simply tells him to stop calling him Lord, as it is embarrassing. The excited creature claims that at least one person here isn't useless, while being thrown away by Duan's strength. Before it could even recover, Duan had already charged at it, jumping into a pose with his daggers, and in an instant, he made several cuts on the creature, not even giving it a chance to react. At the same time as he was cutting, people around asked what level he was to be so strong that he didn't even give the monster a chance to react, and they probably thought he had a secret class of 5 stars to be so extraordinary. Finally, as the creature exploded behind him, he kept walking toward the army, and we see his profile. Duan level 137, secret class, secret warrior. Ning could only think about how amazing he was, but to maintain his cool, he just said, he has something interesting. The humans in the watchtower shouted that since the leader of the monsters had been killed, they could counterattack with the archers shooting at some creatures trying to retreat back into the rift. And since the leader had been killed, the environment, which had been dark, returned to its normal color. Meanwhile, Duan asked Ning if there was anything else he needed to do, to which Ning denied, saying that Duan had already done enough. The people around saw Duan respecting Ning and wondered how strong he had to be for this fighter to be so respectful toward him. They even speculated that he might be the son of a powerful family, going out with bodyguards to gain experience. Duan extended the items that have fallen from the leader, asking our protagonist to accept them. The people around seeing the orange quality items were excited, knowing that even though they couldn't use them, selling them would bring in thousands of crystals. Our protagonist took the items, the first being a skill book for agility, which he said was perfect for Wanyu, the fatal entrance. Then there was the shield, which had the appearance of the creature's face from before. They could sell it for money later, the black shield. While they discussed the items, 2 awakened individuals approached them, asking for their attention. One was wearing armor, supported by what seemed like a crutch. The scene then shifted to a bit further ahead, where the mayor of the city was thanking them for their help in saving Longbow City and introduced himself as Mudongming. He asked if they were from out of town, as they didn't seem like locals. Ning said that they were just trying to conduct some business but got trapped in the area due to the state of emergency. Once again being misunderstood, Ning simply asked if the mayor really didn't know why he was there. But the mayor interpreted this as a threat, seeing Ning as someone intimidating. Ning tried to apologize, stammering but not really knowing how. One of the awakened individuals then stated that it was the department's fault and expressed regret for causing any trouble for Ning. Ning merely said they didn't need to apologize and, in his head, thought that it was actually his fault. The mayor asked his assistant to bring a flight scroll that he had just purchased as a reward for Ning. As the assistant left, our protagonist thought to himself that it was a great acquisition. After all, it's difficult to find one of those in a small town, and even though it could only be used once, it provided a quick and convenient journey to a distant location. The mayor then made a request to Ning, asking if he could stay in the city for a while since things hadn't been calm there recently and their defense was really weak. But our protagonist regretted that he couldn't fulfill the request, thinking that he needed to complete his class change within 3 days. If he were delayed, he would never be able to complete it, and he finally asked aloud if the mayor thought he was free. This sounded bad again, scaring the poor mayor, who immediately apologized. After that, the assistant arrived with the scroll and a bonus. The mayor handed over a supreme black card from the Yuan Cheng exhibition as a gesture of gratitude and respect. Our protagonist thought that he had heard that this card was only issued to a very limited number of influential people, offering many privileges. No wonder the mayor was able to buy a flight scroll. He must have this card. Duan took it while Ning thanked him, and the mayor thanked them for not being responsible for the delay. Finally, he asked if one day the city were in danger and they were nearby, could they ask for their help. Our protagonist confirmed that yes, but only if he had time. The people around started to celebrate, and soon Dooman grabbed our protagonist and used the scroll to leave the city. We then shift to the class change room in Kinyu City, where Wang's team was informed that they had finished, with Blue and Wang walking. As they walked, Wang noticed two auras passing through the sky, one green and one purple. She stopped to look at the auras, and Blue asked why she had stopped. She responded that she had seen people flying and thought one of them was named Feng. Blue responded that it was a mistake since a flight scroll cost thousands of crystals, and Ning would never be able to afford one. He asked why Ning would be in a class change room since he had just awakened, but he stayed quiet while Wang said that if he badmouthed Ning again, he would regret it. He mentally wondered what was wrong with him compared to Ning. The pink-haired cleric approached, telling Wang not to worry and asking how she was doing with her second transformation missions. Meanwhile, Blue told the barbarian that he hadn't gotten a level S mission, but had received an awakening level A mission. The barbarian tried to comfort him, saying that only the lucky ones got level S missions, and the cavalier reminded him that completing a second transformation mission at 18 was considered a supernova, coveted by the top universities, and a level A mission was a rare opportunity. The excited cleric asked how Wang was doing, but she seemed sad, and her companions noticed, asking among themselves if she had gotten a level C or lower mission. Blue thought that even the prodigy girl had her bad days, and a class change mission far below what was expected could really affect her attribute bonuses and skill unlocking. He concluded, speaking out loud, that she could still catch up and surpass others in the future, and even if she didn't, he would still be there to help. However, he still thought that returning to the top with a level C mission was a huge setback. But then he got a sharp reply from Wang saying that she wasn't upset about a level A mission, so she shouldn't be upset about a level S1. Everyone was surprised since that was extremely rare. The pink-haired cleric asked why she hadn't said anything earlier, and Wang replied that it was because this mission was different from the others and unlocked a hidden class she had never seen before. Blue asked how this could be possible since a class was defined during a player's first awakening, and he had never heard of a class change, especially a hidden one, during a transformation. He asked if Wang wasn't mistaken, but the scene shifted directly to the past inside the transformation field, where Wang received a system notification informing her that the item Vanguard emblem had been detected, allowing her to advance from the initial class Agile Shooter to Vanguard Shadow. The system then asked if she would like to advance her class, as it would change her mission. She wondered why the window had appeared, noticing that the emblem was the one Ning had given her. This was surprising to her, and the Manhua showed that Ning had no idea about it. She thought that he seemed so confident at the time that he probably already knew, and as she thanked him for the gift, she clicked to advance. We then returned to the present with Wang explaining what had happened, and the pink-haired girl asking how she could be so hasty, but she was interrupted by Blue shouting, asking what Vanguard Shadow was. He wondered if the transformation system was malfunctioning, and if she chose wrong, it could ruin her entire life. Wang reassured him not to worry about her, but he tried to explain that he was just concerned for her. The barbarian cut in, saying he was jealous that she had obtained a 5-star hidden class, and even more so the transformation. The pink-haired girl thought that she also wished she had a friend like Ning. Blue thought that he too needed to find this emblem. No matter the danger or cost, he had to find it. We then cut directly to the protagonist, who was holding the sacred emblem he had taken from the Guardian. Upon consuming it, he completed an S-rank mission, triggering his class change, significantly increasing his attributes and gaining passive skills. He wondered how far he could go. The passive skill he received was Shadow Domain, which significantly increased his control over Obscure Force, allowing him to cast forbidden spells with greater precision. He thought about how he could use this next time he fought. Outside, Duan was waiting, and Jing approached, asking if he was the fighter she had seen during the invasion. She questioned why he was accompanying Ning, noting that according to her reports, despite being young, Ning already had the power of a 4th transformation. Even on a national scale, he would be considered one of the strongest. However, according to her team, when they entered, Duan always stayed behind Ning, showing great respect. Out loud, she told her teacher Kai that her student was difficult to deal with, so she would be counting on her. Ning and Duan were already outside, talking normally when the teacher approached Ning. Realizing it was her, he asked if she hadn't called him and if there was something she needed to discuss. She confirmed it, and Duan once again called him Sir, saying he would wait for them to finish. The teacher noticed this and asked why Ning was being called Sir, but our protagonist just said he was joking. The teacher then asked if Ning had really completed his first transformation. Our protagonist became nervous, realizing that his secret had been discovered. Even though he knew he couldn't hide it for much longer, it had happened too quickly. However, he thought that she was one of the few people he could trust and had always been attentive. So he decided to answer yes, giving a slight smile to mask his nervousness. He mentioned that it was complicated, so he preferred not to let too many people know. She spoke seriously, saying that there was still something strange and she needed to confirm it. She asked if he had been affected by the power of the Obscure Force. He cursed in his mind, asking why she was asking that, but in his head, he thought that she might be asking to see his status in the system. While he thought about it, she mentioned that the world was undergoing strange changes, and the invasions of secret realms were becoming much more intense. Many people who had been affected were transforming into new mutants. Our protagonist simply reassured her that she didn't need to worry, as he wasn't a mutant. In his mind, he thought that the mutants were closely monitored by the government, and he didn't want to get involved with them at all. Although she trusted him, she extended a crystal and asked if he could do a test to check. She explained that when he injected his energy into the crystal, it would show the amount of obscure force he possessed. He hesitated, sweating as she noticed his uncertainty. He explained that he was just nervous because it was his first time in a situation like this. As soon as he extended his hand and touched the crystal, injecting a bit of energy, the crystal shattered into pieces, leaving both of them stunned. Our protagonist tried to cover up and asked what had just happened, and the teacher, Kai, recalled her conversation with Jing. One day, she explained that the black crystal was very sensitive to the power of the obscure force, and the government often used it to detect mutants. When exposed to a certain amount of obscure force, the crystal would begin to vibrate, and the more energy it absorbed, the stronger the vibration. She demonstrated by touching the crystal, causing it to shake. But the teacher ended the thought looking back at the shattered crystal and asking what it meant when the crystal exploded. Our protagonist stated that it was truly incredible for someone to awaken and undergo a transformation right after. However, the teacher had known him for a long time and asked if she knew his character. She confirmed in her mind that after all, he had lost his parents a long time ago and awakened later than others. Having an optimistic and positive mindset was quite rare in these situations. She personally trusted him, but due to protocol, she would have to report what had happened to her superiors. He said he understood but wondered in his mind what the authorities' reaction would be. In the best case scenario, he might be able to leave Kinyu City right now. As he thought about this, the teacher extended a small item to him, saying it was a gift she had prepared to congratulate him on his first transformation, a skill book. Our protagonist thanked the teacher for taking care of him all these years and said that he also had a gift for her. He pulled an item called Sacred Wings from his inventory, an orange tier item with a level requirement of 30. It increased some points in spirit and had abilities such as resistance to darkness, health recovery, healing effects, and the ability to cast spells without reciting the incantation. The teacher was startled by the orange tier equipment and the ability to avoid speaking when using magic, as it could save lives in critical moments. She said it was very valuable and that she couldn't accept it. However, Ning simply stated that it was an item he had obtained during his transformation, so she shouldn't be shy and should accept it. He then said that his friend was waiting and he couldn't stay any longer, turning and walking toward Duan. As he walked away, the teacher reflected on the fact that he had really gifted her orange tier equipment, which was such a kind gesture. We cut to the office of the Adventurer Examiners, where the teacher was reporting what happened with Ning to Jing, who said she had never seen a situation like this. They would likely consider Ning a threat, so she simply told her to let it go and end the matter there, noticing Kai's concern. He asked what she meant by ending it there, and Jing replied that her student was already too advanced for what they currently understood. If he was indeed a strong adventurer, it would be better to recruit him as much as possible, rather than investigating and unnecessarily angering him. The short-haired girl, who always accompanied Jing, asked if they should report it, but Jing denied, stating that the investigation should be closed and the information should be kept confidential. Keat agreed with the decision, thinking that Ning was a young man with little background, and protecting him was the appropriate course of action. Jing then said that since Ning didn't wish to expose his secrets, they should focus their attention on the fighter. We jump directly to Ning's home at night, with Duan noticing that Ning seemed a bit upset. Our protagonist explained that the teacher had informed him that the investigations about him had been cancelled. Confused, Duan asked if this wasn't good news. Ning confirmed but said he was worried about how he would train in the future. Every time he destroyed a realm, it attracted a lot of attention, and he had already caught the attention of the authorities. If this continued, he would eventually face many problems. Duan agreed in thought, acknowledging that it wasn't easy being a great leader since the problems were much different from those of ordinary people. He never imagined that someone could destroy a realm so easily. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed it. He finally suggested that Ning train in unregistered realms, mentioning that recently, with the changes in the world, many new realms had appeared. Some of these weren't managed by the authorities due to lack of resources, and others were occupied by evil forces. Ning agreed that this could be a solution and asked if Duan had any information about these realms. Duan confirmed that he currently knew of two but could search for others if necessary. As Ning thanked him, he thought that acting like an ordinary person was more effective than being seen as a student. Finally, he decided to sell the loot at the exhibition and rest a bit, pulling out the supreme black card given by the mayor. In the end, he thought that improving his curse usage shouldn't leave him behind compared to others. Meanwhile, at another location in the Swift Hotel, Duan walked toward a large door, saying that he didn't expect it to be so late when he returned to Ning's house. He mentioned that he would spend the night there again and then look for a place to rent. As soon as he entered, someone approached him, and after Duan asked who they were, the person introduced themselves as the mayor of Kinyu City, who had just taken office. We fast forward a bit to the two sitting together, with the mayor thanking Duan for his help during the realm invasion last time. He asked if Duan had any plans to live in the city permanently. Duan confirmed that he did, and the mayor said it would be great to have such such a strong warrior in the city. He then handed him a special adventurer certificate issued by the city with high privileges. He also said that if Duin needed anything in the future, to let him know, and he would do his best to help. As Duin looked at the card, the mayor thought about how another city had tried to recruit him before, but all the attempts were rejected. He really hoped that Kinyu wouldn't be dismissed as well. But contrary to what the mayor expected, Duin simply thanked him for the kindness and accepted the offer. The mayor was confused, saying that Duin didn't mean to thank him, and in the end, Duin could only think that this card would probably be useful for Ning in the future, so he would accept it. The mayor could only think that someone with a fourth transformation would make Kinyu City much safer. Even though he didn't understand why Duin accepted, he said that Sulan's suggestion had been good. He then asked Duin if he was looking for a place to stay and said he would arrange it immediately. We return directly to the ninja's room where he's playing and winning a match in a MOBA game. Realizing it's already late, he was about to go to sleep but wondered why the class group was talking so late into the night. He noticed they were discussing the levels they had reached, with Fang Yu's level being the highest recently at 27. One person mentioned that Wang's team had left the city to do missions. Our protagonist thought that his classmates had awakened when they were 16 and wanted to take the university admission exam. To do so, they needed to reach at least a transformation level or higher. He hadn't expected to surpass them all in just a few days, but then he noticed someone in the group nudging him, saying that he was always playing. He looked at the person suspiciously, thinking that they might be another worshipper of Wang, wondering if they were a stalker who had been watching his account's feed. Just as he was about to ask why it mattered to them what he did with his life, Professor Kai spoke, telling him to mind his own business. He could only admire the professor, while another student mentioned that multiple invasions of secret realms had been causing serious injuries. He had heard that some cities had been completely taken over and occupied by monsters, with the safe areas being totally useless. Furthermore, mutants were also running out of control. They also discussed a mysterious person who had been helping and protecting the city. Our protagonist mentioned that he had only heard about the changes in the world from the professor and Duan and didn't expect it to be this serious. He hoped that now that he was finally having some good days, they wouldn't be ruined suddenly. He also regretted letting that creature escape last time. He didn't return to his room. While inside the realm, a figure sneezed and wondered why they felt so scared. The next day, we jumped directly to the Yuan Cheng exhibition, where Yang Xin was approached by a woman asking why she had come to work without fully recovering from her injuries. Yang replied that she hadn't been hurt too badly and was fine. The opportunist simply said that Yang claimed to be fine but was clearly anxious to return to university. Yang denied it, and the opportunist sneered, saying that her career ladder had been interrupted by a thief who dared to steal from a fourth transformation person. She promised that they, along with her, would be pulverized. Yang just denied it, saying that Ning would never do such a thing. However, the woman with purple hair laughed, saying that her master had ordered an investigation into his background. He was just an 18-year-old useless person who had awakened to the work of the star, and since his parents died early, he would never have the ability to obtain high-class items. Now that a fourth transformation person was after him, if he wasn't just a thief, she asked, what could he be? However, before she could continue, an aura emerged, and it was Ning who summoned a crystal that nearly hit her neck. He warned her that she was being too insolent, and that he almost lost control. She stumbled backward and asked if he really dared to use magic at the exhibition, calling for the security guards. Yang warned him to leave quickly before the guards arrived and reminded him that the Yuan Cheng exhibition had enormous influence. A regular person couldn't afford to offend them. But before he could do anything, we saw a large group of people approaching, both the security guards and the exhibition master, asking what had given Ning the courage to do something like this in such a place. Ning simply replied that he had learned he was being investigated behind his back and that Master Wang had even labeled him as a thief. The master replied that whether he was a thief or not, he was the one who knew, but he didn't have the qualifications to be so bold. As the security guards advanced toward him, being asked if they treated all customers this way at the Yuan Cheng exhibition, holding up the black card. Instantly, the guards, who weren't foolish, stopped fearing the card. Our protagonist, with a sly grin, saw the master starting to question whether it was really a supreme black card. The others were shocked, with the opportunist claiming it was certainly fake, but Ning simply said it was a gift from Mr. Kai. As he put the card away, Wang asked where he had gotten it, calling it fake. But Ning simply told him that if he was so good at investigating, he should figure it out himself. The purple-haired woman then started asking the master what they should do, and Wang replied that he would make a call to inquire and told her to stay there and watch him. A great commotion began to gather in front of the exhibition, which had been closed off because the security guards were blocking the path and not allowing anyone to pass. We then see the call from Master Wang to the mayor, who was asking why he was investigating the black card he had given to Ning, asking what was going on. Wang simply affirmed that nothing had happened, it was just a misunderstanding. However, in his mind, he questioned how Ning had known Mr. K, whose father was one of the founders of the exhibition. The mayor shouted, asking how there could have been a misunderstanding since the ninja ninja was a hard-earned acquisition for him and questioned whether he had offended him. Trying to deny it, Wang told him to stay calm, assuring him he would resolve it properly. Realizing he had indeed offended him, the mayor asked who Wang thought he was, calling him an idiot and hanging up the call. Wang could only think about what the relationship was between Mr. Kai and Ning since the mayor had been so angry. Desperately trying to get out of the situation, he thought of Du En, wondering if he should call him and tell him that they had found the fighter's set. If he came, even Mr. Kai would have to show some respect. We returned to Ning, who was sitting on the sofa, playing a bit with Yang by his side, both waiting in the waiting area. Suddenly, the door opened and both Mayor Kai and Du-en rushed in, calling out his name. Our protagonist asked how they were there, and Yang noticed that both Mr. Kai and the strong man who had wanted the set were present. She commented that they seemed to know Mr. Ning very well. Both of them appeared quite angry, and the opportunistic woman questioned why they were both looking at her, particularly asking why Master Wang looked so worn out. The only thing Master Wang could say was that everything had ended, and the mayor approached Ning asking if he truly didn't want an apology. However, Ning simply replied that it wasn't necessary, adding that even if both of them apologized, it wouldn't make up for their actions. Kai ordered the two to leave immediately, and since Wang was frustrated, he blamed the purple-haired girl, slapping her in the face. Kai then ordered the security guards to remove them from the place, and we quickly cut to the waiting room, where Mr. Ning was being served tea by Yang. Kai observed that Ning seemed to have a good impression of Yang, and at least this didn't ruin the exhibition's reputation. In Yang's mind, she wondered how Ning, so young, could casually converse and laugh with such important people. Mr. Kai told her she had been wronged and advised her to work hard, promising that the exhibition would reward her in the future. As she confirmed this, our protagonist simply apologized for causing the mayor to go so far over a trivial issue. Yet the mayor insisted it wasn't a trivial problem, stating that if it weren't for them, the city of Longbofu would be in much greater danger. He seemed to be looking at the rare item catalog and asked if there was anything that caught his interest. He mentioned he was looking for something specific and asked if they had heard of an item called the final relic. As both of them wondered what the relic was, our protagonist replied that it wasn't anything special, but he had seen it online and thought it seemed new and interesting. We then cut to a flashback where our protagonist was using the skill book that the professor had given him, which was used to temporarily replenish abilities during combat with spiritual energy powder. He didn't know what kind of curse it would turn into, but as he used it, his mind was illuminated with a newly unlocked ability, Obscure Convergence. This ability absorbed the remnants of the obscure force from the remains of the final relic and transformed it into his own energy. He began to think about how he had never heard of this ability, and the system hadn't provided any explanation about where he should go or what it was. We returned to the present, where the mayor says it was a hasty departure, but next time they're in Longbofu, he would pay for everything. He then pulled out a flight scroll and left instantly. Once he left, our protagonist asked Du-en if he wanted to eat something, and Du-en suggested they go to his house to eat. Later, at the Dudu village, Ning asked if this was really a house that the city had given him. Du-en affirmed it, saying that since Ning was above the 4 transformations level and wanted to stay in the city, he would receive special treatment. He then asked if Ning wanted to move into this place or if he could find another place to live. Our protagonist could only laugh and reply that there was no need, as he would make enough money to buy a house nearby in the future, and they would be neighbors. Du-en also said that if Ning needed money, he could give it to him, but our protagonist insisted that he wouldn't use Du-en's money. Recently, by selling equipment, he had gathered quite a few crystals, and if he exchanged them for money, buying a village would be no problem. However, he didn't want to spend his money for now, as it would leave him with less money in the future in case he needed it, so he could wait. Our protagonist continued drinking his tea while Du-en mentioned that the village area had a dedicated boss. He had already called them, and they would arrive soon. While commenting that it seemed very convenient, Du-en received a call. Upon answering, he noticed it was Mayor Zhang, who called to inform him about something that might be bothersome for Du-en. A team of investigators sent from above was investigating the recent disasters that had occurred in the city, and the mayor wanted to obtain some information about Du-en. Our protagonist could only stare, looking bewildered. Du-en thought that this might affect our protagonist, so the best course of action was to ask what he thought first. To avoid trouble, he told the mayor he was busy. The mayor confirmed and said to call when he was free. After hanging up, our protagonist asked about this investigation group, and Du-en said he didn't know anything about them. We then cut to a distant place where we see a figure, a man with red eyes and white hair, saying that the city of Kinyu was a very strange place, and they were talking about a mysterious savior. We cut directly to the meeting room where people like Jing and Qi were sitting, wondering if anyone had seen this so-called mysterious savior, but everyone denied it, and the investigator asked that since no one had seen him, why were there rumors about him saving the city? Jing explained that it was mainly because the invasion had been interrupted suddenly at the time, and the mutants present were also eliminated. But she was interrupted by a member of the investigation team who talked about the invasion, which always varied in level, so they couldn't use that as a basis, not before investigating properly. He added that there had been other incidents in the secret realms with 2 king level or higher attacks, and asked what this mysterious savior had done about that. Professor Kai thought that to protect our protagonist, Jing had used her power to modify the information related to him, which caused all the pressure from the incidents to fall on her. As they spoke, the door opened and Mayor Zhang entered, announcing that he had called Duan, but Duan had said he was busy. A member of the investigation team expressed how much he hated uncontrolled adventurers who had no guilds and acted arrogantly, as if they were important. He told them to leave it to him, as he would handle this investigation. We then moved to a dangerous area of a secret realm, where 2 local guards were questioning who was approaching. It was the investigator, who greeted them good evening and approached. The guards recognized him, and he said he needed to enter to carry out some investigations. They let him pass, and once inside, he remarked that although it wasn't the first time he was there, he couldn't help but be impressed by the level of destruction. He wondered what kind of force would be required to completely destroy an entire secret realm. He added that even though the obscure force was just a remnant, it was pure and powerful. No matter how ridiculous this so-called mysterious savior might be, compared to the existence that caused this destruction, it was like an ant facing an elephant. He began laughing maniacally while shouting that the place really met expectations. As he extended his hand forward, we see a creature emerging from a rift, and the investigator mentioned that the area was filled with king-level energy, a very dense energy, and declared that everything there would be his. We then cut directly to Duan's village, where our protagonist was playing a game, irritated, but was interrupted by a message from the system notifying him that the final relic had been found. At that moment, he realized a connection was forming with him through the aura and began focusing to feel it more carefully. Gradually, it became clearer until he finally pinpointed its location. He stood up, grabbed his jacket, and Duan asked where he was going. Ning said he was going out for a bit and told Duan to finish the game for him. Duan remained confused as he wasn't used to this. We then cut to inside a car where our protagonist was checking the GPS and saw that the energy was near the sinister cemetery, but he started to feel it moving. As he thought, we cut directly to the entrance of the secret realm, where the 2 soldiers were being stared at by the mysterious energy forming a face as it came out of the portal. They sent an alert, warning that the unknown monster had appeared in the sinister cemetery. They wondered what it was, and we see the creature, a large face with the body of the investigator, only his head sticking out. He was begging for help, saying he couldn't move. At the same time, we see the street passing through the cemetery was blocked off, preventing anyone from passing. 2 adventurers were guarding the area. Our protagonist got out of the car, paid for the ride, and remarked that the thing he was looking for had moved a little farther away. We returned to the creature that had consumed the investigator, which had transformed into a kind of spider, only its head visible. The investigation team members arrived, seeing the situation, getting scared, wondering what had happened. We advance a bit in time to when Jing was already on the ground, badly injured, being healed by Kai. She thought that thanks to the equipment Ming had given her, she was able to reduce the cooldown time and cast the support spell more quickly. However, the situation was still critical, and even Jing, who was strong, couldn't stop the creature. Jing regained consciousness and asked where the creature was. Kai informed her that it had gone toward the city, but she added that Mayor Zhang had already asked for Duan's life. She said she wasn't sure if he would make it in time. Jing could only think that even though Duan was as strong as she was, he alone would be a match for the creature, but probably whoever was behind it was their hope. We directly cut to the creature attacking someone on its way to the city, but it directly encounters our protagonist, who says that the final relic seems to have gotten much bigger. The creature notices Ning's presence, who is standing unharmed in front of it after the attack. Ning then asks if the shield won't be enough and if he would need to use another skill to defeat it. But before he could finish his thought, the creature lunges to attack him directly. As its claw approaches, it is instantly immobilized and cannot break through the energy, leaving the creature impressed with Ning's power. Meanwhile, the system asks if he would like to absorb the final relic. Finally able to touch the creature, he accepts the absorption and wonders if a direct touch is required to absorb it. As soon as he clicks yes, the creature starts to break apart into pieces. He observes how the mirrors reflect creatures staring at him, and especially as his total attributes increase by 100 points. Ning is pleased to see that all of his attributes had increased by 100 points, and even though he is still a 3-star class, he doesn't get many level up points even after advancing to the 3rd transformation. In addition to the attributes, he absorbs something else, like strange images in his head. But while he is thinking about this, he is interrupted by Duan shouting from behind. After asking what happened, our protagonist simply states that he killed the creature, pointing to its body on the ground. Duan is impressed that he finished it off so quickly and thinks about how the mayor had called and reported a monster invasion. He wonders if it might be a demonic sect. Duan can understand the protagonist defeating the creature, but he doesn't seem to have used any spells to do so he questions how he managed to do it without leaving any traces. Our protagonist tells him that he arrived just in time, and Duan confirms that he should take the credit for it. In an instant, our protagonist moves at incredible speed, leaving Duan confused. He wonders if Ming wasn't a mage, how his speed was surpassing many combat classes. Duan admits that Ning is truly amazing, and that he had underestimated him, but our protagonist just left. We cut directly to the Kinyu prison, where we see the former member of the investigation team shackled inside a cell. Jing was saying that he had confessed to absorbing the energy of the obscure force and transforming into that creature. He had discovered it in his secret realm and had accidentally managed to control it. Taking advantage of the investigative opportunity he had received, he injected the power of the obscure force from the secret realm into himself, but the creature went out of control. The mayor simply celebrated, as they truly had a mysterious savior protecting them. Even Jing and Qi were happy with the situation, as the savior truly existed. The mayor then asked Duan if he had met the mysterious savior, and Duan confirmed that he had been fortunate enough to meet him once. The mayor asks if he could do him a favor and asks the mysterious savior if he would like to settle permanently in the city of Kinyu. He promises that he would do everything necessary to meet all of his needs. Duan responds that the mysterious savior is discreet and rarely appears, so it's better to forget about this idea. He thinks that thanks to him and Ning, who had planned this beforehand, they are managing to push the situation onto this so-called mysterious savior who doesn't exist. And since they have no evidence, they won't be able to investigate. The mayor says it's a shame, as strong people like the savior are adored by many, but Duan reassures them not to worry. He says that the savior has relatives in Kinyu, so he will take good care of the city, but in return, he would like not to be disturbed. Jing begins to reflect on the idea of having relatives and taking care of the city. It seems she has reached a conclusion just as Professor Tikili has concluded that perhaps the savior is a relative of Ning. And while they were having this conversation at Ming's house, he was peacefully taking a bath, thinking about the so-called final relics, which were actually remnants left by the demon kings who died in the secret realms. The additional images were actually fragments of the memories of those demons that were absorbed along with the energy. Ning begins to think about how he doesn't intend to become a demon king, but comes to the conclusion that this could be useful. He realizes that when the obscure force is accumulated, the secret realms experience a period of strengthening, and if the time and space invaded cannot resist, the world will face its end. In his own time and space, the training path of the awakened is not yet complete, and few can reach the fourth transformation. Furthermore, the classes of the awakened don't seem to have reached their ideal form yet. The information extracted from the demon king's memories doesn't seem very good. If this continues, humanity will only face a terrible fate. Even though he can protect himself, he cannot live in a world full of monsters. He thinks that unfortunately, they weren't the only ones to suffer an invasion from a secret realm. Other time spaces managed to repel the invasion, and if he collects more fragments and selects the useful experiences, this could be very effective. However, transmitting them would still be dangerous, so he would need to be cautious. After all, the experiences he is collecting are far beyond current knowledge, and handling them could lead to unpredictable consequences. His thoughts are interrupted by a call from Miss Wan inviting him to dinner, which he couldn't refuse. He confirms that he will go after all she called. She says it's a plan and that she will send the location as we see her descending the transformation hall stairs. The members of her team congratulate her on successfully passing the transition to the second transformation. She was accompanied by the little blue one. The crowd around them congratulated her, saying that they were so young and already reached the second transformation. The little blue one tried to invite her to a private room in the best restaurant in the city, asking her to celebrate. However, she declined, saying she already had a commitment in the evening. They should enjoy themselves on their own, and the next day, she would be the host of a location, so she expected them there. The little blue one said he wasn't lazy, but even after so much work, he asked if she couldn't at least rest a little. She simply said that it was something important, leaving them behind as she crossed the street. The little blue one remarked that they had barely reached the second transformation and were already arguing again. The cleric tried to calm the little blue one down, saying that Wan Yu wasn't a bad person, so she must have something serious in mind. But he just questioned if they weren't tired of following her. Now that she had awakened a hidden class and completed the second stage transformation, the distance between her and all of them would only grow. In the end, she would completely detach from their team. Later that night, in a restaurant, we see our protagonist observing a table with roasted lamb while Yu says that it's not expensive and tastes good, so he should try it. Afterward, he says that he's only following her so he can try such delicacies. She replies that she should be the one thanking him, as the emblem he gave her helped a lot and ended up unlocking the hidden class. Our protagonist, stuffing his mouth with food, asks if it was really the emblem that activated the new class. He thinks that in the memories of a demon king, he discovered that the awakened and the professions weren't in their most ideal form, and wonders if the emblems are the way to reach that state. She confirms that it was exactly the emblem that did the trick and asks if he knows where they come from, but he says he's not sure. She says it would be great if she could find more, as she'd like to give one to him and the other members. He can only think that she is still the same as always. Whenever something good happens, she considers the interests of everyone around her. She tells him not to worry and not to give up on training while she takes care of the emblem issue. She adds that in a dangerous time like this, having a self-defense ability is always useful. So when she finds an emblem suitable for him, maybe he could activate a new class. He cuts her off, saying it's complicated to train alone, so her protecting him is already great. She warns him not to joke around with such serious matters while making a a pained expression as she moves her shoulder. Ning asks what happened, but she simply says that she got a little hurt while completing the mission, and it's nothing major. He asks if she wants him to heal her, but she refuses, saying that she's already been healed. After all, it was an S-rank mission, and the boss deals significant damage, so she'd need some time to recover. Our protagonist wonders if class missions are really that difficult while receiving a call from an unknown number. When he answers, someone asks if he's really Ning Feng. He asks back who the person is, and the caller says he doesn't need to know who he is, just that he should answer where the emblem came from. Ning hangs up, telling Yu that a strange and aggressive person called him asking about the emblem. Yu, confused, says she hadn't told anyone outside about it, so how could someone know? Our protagonist just tells them to eat and drink and not to worry about it. However, he receives the call again. When he answers, the person starts shouting, but our protagonist thinks he just needs to avoid drawing attention with Yu around and hangs up again. We cut to the end of the dinner with both of them leaving the restaurant. Yu asks if he doesn't want her to take him home, but he disagrees, saying it was just an annoying call, so she shouldn't worry about it. He says goodbye, and Ning heads home, only to find his place all messed up with his things scattered on the floor. Later, a blonde guy greets the protagonist and, becoming serious, asks if it was him who just made the call. Confirming it, the blonde throws the last notebook on the ground, saying he had warned him that he would regret hanging up on him. If he had answered correctly from the start, none of this would have happened. The protagonist asks coldly who sent him to make the call. The blonde guy gets annoyed and asks how a simple awakened person dares to speak to him that way, questioning if Ning's teacher never taught him to show respect to the stronger. As they stare at each other, suddenly an assassin jumped from behind, attempting a surprise attack, but our protagonist simply turned, dodged, and elbowed the assassin in the face, knocking him down instantly. The blonde guy was confused, asking what was happening, and our protagonist simply told him that it was an eye for an eye, and in front of stronger people, he should treat them with respect. The blonde guy wondered how it was possible. The information said that our protagonist was just a 1-star rookie and a mage, so how did he manage to defeat a 3-star assassin with his bare hands? Our protagonist thought that it wasn't by chance that he had raised all his attributes. His reaction speed and accuracy had received significant boosts, and even without using magic, he could handle such situations. The blonde guy pulled out a shuriken from behind his back and threw it, but our protagonist simply dodged the surprise attack as the blonde tried to run. He thought the situation wasn't looking good, and that it was better to retreat. However, as he tried to jump through the window, our protagonist grabbed him by the leg and held him in place. Moving forward, our protagonist told them to clean up the mess they made and that they'd have to pay for the cabinet they broke. Both of them said they had given everything they had to him, so Ming simply asked who had sent them there. They answered that it was the young master Zhao Cheng from the Sovereign Lion Guild. He had said that our protagonist had a special emblem that couldn't be found anywhere else and was unique, so he hired them to steal it. Ning remembered that this Zhao was a mage from Yu's guild, and since he attacked him, Zhao shouldn't expect him to be kind. He thought about a forbidden spell he hadn't used yet and decided to use it specifically because of him. The skill Darkness that steals the soul, which uses mental energy to manipulate the mind of a target and can temporarily transform them into a powerful clone. He activated this skill, and the eyes of the two men in front of him immediately turned purple, emitting energy from the obscure force. We then cut to the middle of the street with the cavalier asking Zhao Cheng how much our protagonist meant to Yu for her not to come. Zhao replied that the two of them could leave soon, as they could easily join another guild. But the cavalier asked about the emblem, and the blue-haired guy answered that he had already sent someone to handle Ning, and if he didn't cooperate, he would end up teaching him what a life worse than death feels like. Concerned, the cavalier asked what would happen if Yu found out, questioned if they had gotten the information. But the blonde guy simply asked coldly if they were the ones who caused the wound on Yu's shoulder. The two members of Yu's team were startled, but Zhao immediately approached and slapped the blonde guy across the face, telling him not to interfere in their matters and asking if he had a problem with that. Suddenly, the blonde guy grabbed them by the neck, lifting them up, and warned that those who hurt Yu did not deserve to live, but he wouldn't let them have such an easy death. And as they had said they would teach him a life worse than death, he would give them that experience. In an instant, a red energy shot into the sky, and the two of them started turning to ashes. After completely disintegrating their bodies, the blonde guy stopped being possessed and also turned to ashes, leaving no trace behind. We then return to our protagonist, who says that there should be no evidence left, and it's a great method for disappearing with people without leaving a trace. He looked irritably at the wall, thinking that this time things had gotten a bit dangerous, and that his house was located in a very normal neighborhood, so he couldn't prevent high-level awakened individuals from entering and leaving. Although he didn't need to worry about them with the strength he possessed, he couldn't stay at home 24/7. He had been planning to access the Demon King's memories and organize important information, but fortunately, he hadn't started yet. If he had been discovered, it would have caused big problems. He thought about fixing this quickly, but first he would stay at Duan's house, as he was a fourth transformation awakened, and the place had strong security and much better housing standards. At Duan's house, Duan asked if they really had the courage to attack Ming directly, and told our protagonist to rest, assuring him he would investigate to see if anyone else was conspiring. However, Ming told him he didn't need to hurry with that and asked if he knew any reliable alchemists. Duan just asked what his criteria were for the alchemist, and our protagonist replied that the alchemist should be at a high level, trustworthy, and preferably independent with many connections. Duan confirmed that he did know a few high-level alchemists, but they had already joined big guilds. Our protagonist said that wasn't suitable and recalled that in the memories he had absorbed, a demon king had killed several high-level alchemists, and the potions they produced were significantly superior to the level of potions in the current world. Unfortunately, he hadn't understood the specific details, but had managed to copy the recipes left behind. He would need to discuss them with a professional. However, the alchemists who joined big guilds generally had no choice, and the risk of information being leaked was much higher. After the lesson he had learned, he didn't want to attract greedy flies anytime soon, so he simply stated that if an opportunity arose, Duan should help him look for an alchemist, and he would ask other people as well. A little later, we cut to him calling Yu, with her saying that she knew a reliable alchemist. Her brother, the cleric, was an alchemist, and he was thinking of joining their guild. However, Zhao Cheng and he hadn't managed to come to an agreement, but if Ning was interested, she could introduce them. Our protagonist thought that Yu had really had bad luck with a teammate as horrible as Zhao, but at least he had solved a big problem for her, and he wouldn't cause any more trouble. He then refocused his attention on her, asking why she was looking for an alchemist. Ning explained that he had found some recipes at his house and wanted someone to help him understand them. Yu looked confused and asked if he found them again at his house. He simply said he was doing a good cleaning at his house at the moment. She agreed and said she would arrange the meeting. Shortly after, we were in a room with our protagonist facing a blue-haired man wearing glasses. This was Su Wei, who asked if he could see the recipes. Outside, the pink-haired girl was irritated because her brother had kicked her out, and Yu explained that it was because she was too noisy. At the door, there was a do not disturb sign, and the alchemist, after analyzing the papers, said that there weren't many ingredients, and they weren't particularly special, but the preparation method was very complicated. He had never seen anything like it before. He asked in the end if Ning knew the effect of the potion, and Ning confirmed that it increased the experience gained by 100%. The alchemist was shocked, saying that experience potions on the market only increase experience by a maximum of 40%, and they were already very expensive. If it were really possible to create a potion that increases experience by 100%, it would make all low-level and even high-level classes level up much faster. Our protagonist said that he wasn't sure, as it wasn't easy to ask about such things, which is why he had come to consult him. Excited, the alchemist announced that he would perform an experiment upstairs, so they should just wait. Some time passed, our protagonist was sitting on the sofa with the other two, talking and waiting. However, suddenly, a loud noise came from upstairs, and they wondered what was happening. The pink-haired girl said she would go take a look as she rushed up the stairs. Once she reached the second floor, she noticed a small slime jumping around, desperately trying to escape. She realized it was a small slime her brother used for experiments. In mid-air, the poor slime was exploded by a fireball, while the three of them were left shocked. Her brother appeared, shouting that it worked, and the experience gain really increased by 100%. The two girls were confused, while Siwei explained that he had simply drunk a little of the potion, and the gain had indeed increased to 100%. Our protagonist could only think that if it worked with one, it would probably work with the other recipes, and the alchemist was enjoying himself throwing fireballs. The pink-haired girl said that her brother loved his laboratory so much that he wouldn't even let her come up, but here he was breaking everything on his own in his excitement. After a short while, they finally explained to them and really understood why he was so happy. There was indeed a potion capable of increasing experience gain by 100%, but the alchemist warned them to stay quiet as it was confidential. However, the pink-haired girl pointed out that he was the one shouting just a moment ago. Xu Wei then asked what the protagonist planned to do. After all, selling this would bring them unimaginable wealth, especially since it was so dangerous outside that no one would refuse something that greatly boosted their strength. Our protagonist, deep in thought, received some information on his phone, and after looking at a group message talking about the college entrance exam, he decided to first give the potion to his classmates and then sell it. Taking advantage of the situation, the pink-haired girl asked if she was considered one of his classmates. Once he confirmed, she began thanking him, saying that in the future, she and Yu would be his bodyguards. Our protagonist just thought that such a sought-after item, once released into the market, would surely create a huge impact, and if it brought in a lot of profit at once, people like Zhao Cheng would certainly show up in large numbers. Therefore, to maintain peace and calm, it would be better to first cultivate people around him to support his power, and then start commercializing utilizing it. It's better to think carefully so that when someone with bad intentions shows up, they can handle it. Our protagonist suggests that the potions could also be given to the Berserker Unused team, Zhu Jiangshu. The two bros are happy and mention that last night Shu was worried he wouldn't be able to get into the same university as them, but with this potion, he would be just fine. Our protagonist thinks about how Jiangshu is quite talented, so he could be very useful in the future. While he's thinking, Setaway asks if he should call him brother and if he had any other recipes. Our protagonist confirms and hands him another piece of paper, which contains many ingredients he's never even heard of. Even knowing 2 other recipes, he realizes he can't make them with his current level. Our protagonist understands that these are recipes from another world, and if he can use even a few of them, it would be a good opportunity. Yu suggests that as soon as the first potions are ready, they should call Shu to train. She also invites the protagonist to go with them, and he questions why he needs to go. She tells him not to worry, as the city has just sent a notice allowing guild teams to go out and train, so he can go with them. Amid the group of people, he stops paying much attention while listening to the alchemist talking about calculating the potion making for everyone, Yu setting up a training session for the next Monday, and so on. In the end, he just says that no one listens to him. On Monday, our protagonist calls to let them know he has arrived, and Yu confirms that they will be there soon. A school bus passes by, and some students notice Ning asking if it was really him, since he hadn't gone to school and had a training session on Monday. They also notice he was carrying bags. They finish by saying that they don't need to talk about the useless one, and should just go back to sleep, since soon enough they would have to enter a secret realm. Fast forward to a group of students already prepared in front of a large portal, entering one by one. We see Professor Kai directing the students as one asks her how long they will have to wait. She replies that it will be about 2 hours. A girl complains, asking why they have to wait so long, and she explains that it's because they are in the second group, and the first group will be entering soon. But the boy who had asked about the time is now impressed, asking if this wasn't a defense and what he was doing in this place with their goddess. We see a link with the new Sovereign Lion squad, all of them walking directly into the rift. Hey everyone, did you enjoy the story? I really liked it. If you want to follow the next part, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. See you in the next story, guys.